Jake Morrison was 3 bites into a questionable gas station burrito when the tractor beam hit. 1 second he was parked at a rest stop off I-40. The next he was floating through a white corridor that smelled like hospital disinfectant and regret. "Fantastic," he muttered, still holding the burrito. "I'm getting probed, and I didn't even finish dinner." The room he materialized in looked like an Apple store had a baby with an operating theater. Everything was white, smooth, and aggressively clean. A 7-foot-old blue alien in what Jake could only describe as a lab coat approached, holding a device that beeped enthusiastically. "Greetings, primitive life form," the alien said through a translator that made him sound like a GPS with an attitude problem. "I am Dr. Venn'ik, of the Collective. Please remain calm during your biological assessment." "Sure, Doc. Do you validate parking?" Dr. Venn'ik didn't respond. He waved the scanner over Jake, and it made a pleasant chiming sound. Then it made a less pleasant sound. Then it made a sound like a smoke detector having a panic attack. The doctor's face, which Jake noted had way too many eyes, went from calm blue to an alarming shade of purple. "Nurse Pip, Emergency Containment Protocol 7. A smaller alien, this one green and vaguely frog-like, rushed in carrying what looked like a hazmat suit made of bubble wrap and anxiety. What's the problem?" Jake asked, taking another bite of his burrito. "Stop consuming that unknown substance." "Doctor!" Venn'ik shrieked. "Now, backing toward the door. Nurse, get me a full isolation field and contact the High Council. Code Black. Repeat, Code Black." Jake looked at his burrito, then at the doctor. "It's just a burrito, man. Mostly beans." "Probably." 3 more aliens rushed in, all wearing full containment suits that made them look like they were about to defuse a bomb. One of them was pointing what was definitely a weapon at Jake's lunch. "I am Counselor Rathan of the Collective Defense Force," the largest alien announced, his voice crackling through his suit's speakers. "Drop the biological payload immediately." "It's not a weapon, it's dinner," Jake protested. But the look in Rathn's 4 eyes suggested this was not the time to argue. He set the burrito down. An alien immediately trapped it in a glowing containment field. Dr. Venn'ik was now frantically swiping through holographic displays, his multiple hands shaking. "The preliminary scan shows this is impossible. The human is carrying approximately 47 active viral strains, 112 dormant ones, and something the scanner is labeling as chronic bad decisions. That last one's probably the burrito," Jake offered helpfully. "How are you still alive?" Dr. Venn'ik whispered, staring at Jake like he was a walking paradox. "Good genes. I drink orange juice, sometimes." The doctor made it sound like a computer trying to process a division by 0. This entity should have expired from systemic infection within hours of birth. The pathogen load alone should have been weighed. He looked at his scanner again. "This can't be right. You're telling me you're currently fighting off 3 different influenza variants, 2 coronaviruses, and something called Epstein-Barr." "Oh yeah, mono. Got that in college. Good times." Dr. Venn'ik sat down heavily, which was impressive since there were no chairs. He just sort of collapsed, and the floor caught him with a cushion of light. "Nurse Pip," he said weakly, "prepare a report for the High Council. And get me something strong, very strong. We don't have anything rated for this level of stress. Doctor. Then invent something." The High Council chamber looked like the United Nations if it had been, designed by someone who really loved crystals and mood lighting. Jake sat in the center of a glowing circle, still in his trucker flannel and jeans, surrounded by dozens of aliens who were all maintaining a healthy 20-foot distance. High Chancellor Morith, a being that looked like an octopus, had achieved enlightenment, floated at the head of the chamber. "Dr. Venn'ik, please present your findings." The doctor stepped forward, somehow looking exhausted despite having slept for what he claimed was the equivalent of 3 days. "Esteemed Council, the situation is, how do I put this, absolutely insane." "Elaborate," Moritz said calmly. "The human designated Jake Morrison is essentially a walking biological warfare facility. His body is currently hosting enough pathogens to sterilize a small moon. And he's just sitting there, eating snacks." Jake waved. He'd been given a package of alien food that tasted like cardboard had an identity crisis. These crackers are terrible. By the way, stop consuming items. Counselor Rathan bellowed. Every time you open your mouth, the contamination sensors spike. That's just my breath, dude. I told you I wanted to brush my teeth. Dr. Venn'ik pulled up a holographic display that showed Jake's bloodstream. It looked like a war zone. As you can see, his immune system is engaged in constant combat. White blood cells, antibodies, something called T cells, which frankly seem overly aggressive, all fighting simultaneously. And this is normal? Asked a council member who looked like a crystal cat. According to the human, yes. Apparently they call it being healthy. The council chamber erupted in what Jake assumed was alien disbelief. It sounded like a dubstep concert was having an argument. Order, Moreth commanded. Dr. Venn'ik, could this be weaponized? Weaponized. Chancellor, this human is a weapon. He mentioned something called the flu last week. I looked it up in their database. It kills millions of them. Regularly. And they just go to work anyway. That's because I don't get paid sick days, Jake interjected. The council stared at him. You continue normal activity while infected with deadly pathogens, Rathan asked slowly. I mean, yeah. What am I supposed to do? Stay home every time I get the sniff? I'd never leave the house. Dr. Venn'ik gestured wildly at the display. The sniffles, as he calls it, would hospitalize most species in the collective. His common cold could destroy our civilization. Okay, that seems dramatic, Jake said. Is it, though? Dr. Vennika's voice cracked. Is it really? Because I've been reviewing your medical history. Jake Morrison and I have questions. So many questions. Starting with, what is chickenpox? And why did you get it on purpose? That's the vaccine, man. You inject yourself with diseases voluntarily? Well, yeah, it's like a practice run for the immune system. The Crystal Cat Council member fainted, just straight up powered down. Morith raised a tentacle for silence. Let me understand this correctly. Humans deliberately infect themselves with weakened pathogens as a preventative measure. Sure. We've got vaccines for all kinds of stuff. Measles, mumps, rubella, tetanus. Stop. Please stop. Dr. Venn'ik looked like he was going to cry. If aliens could cry. Every word makes it worse. The council will now vote, Morith announced, all in favor of immediate planetary sterilization of Sol 3, also known as Earth. About half the tentacles, claws, and appendages went up. Wait, what? Jake stood up quickly. You can't blow up Earth. We're considering it. Rathan shot back. Your planet is clearly a biological hazard of the highest order. We have art, and music, and, pizza. What's pizza? Asked Nurse Pip quietly. Nobody tell him, Dr. Venn'ik said. If we describe Earth food preparation, they'll vote for sterilization unanimously. Dr. Venn'ik had been staring at scans of Jake's immune system for what Jake guessed was several hours. The doctor's several eyes had developed a twitch, which seemed bad. This shouldn't work, the doctor muttered. None of this should work. But it does, though. Right. Since I'm alive and talking to you, that's what concerns me. Dr. Venn'ik spun around, his lab coat flaring dramatically. Your immune system operates on a level of controlled chaos that violates several fundamental principles of biology. You have cells that kill other cells on purpose. Regularly. Yeah, that's kind of their job. Their job is cellular murder. When those cells go rogue, yeah, it's like internal law enforcement. Dr. Venn'ik pulled up another scan. And what, pray tell, is this structure? Your database calls it an appendix. According to your medical records, it tried to kill you when you were 16. Oh, yeah. Appendicitis? That sucked. Your own organs attack you? Sometimes? It's usually fine, though. Usually fine? The doctor's voice hit a pitch that made the scanner equipment vibrate. You have vestigial organs that spontaneously attempt assassination. I mean, when you put it like that, it sounds bad. Nurse Pip, who'd been quietly taking notes, raised a tentacle. Doctor, I found something in the historical medical database. It's really not good. Define not good. Well, there's an event called the Black Plague that killed half of Europe. Half the continent? Yes. And the humans just kept going. Dr. Venn'ik sat down again. Show me. The holographic display filled with Earth's medical history, and it read like a horror novel written by diseases. The plague, smallpox, the Spanish flu, tuberculosis, malaria and cholera. These are extinction-level events. Dr. Venn'ik whispered. Any one of these should have ended their species, but we invented pizza instead, Jake said cheerfully. And antibiotics. Those were pretty important too. You what? You just invent countermeasures? While dying in the millions? Yeah, pretty much. Necessity is the mother of invention and all that. Nurse Pip was reading through more files. Oh, no. Oh, this is terrible. Doctor, they have a disease that just stays in their spine forever. It's called herpes, and over half of them have it. Half their population carries a permanent pathogen. Actually, that's just one type, Jake said. There's like different kinds. Cold sores are super common. Super common, Dr. Venn'ik repeated numbly. Of course they are. Why wouldn't they be? At this point, I'm surprised you're not radioactive. Funny story about radiation. Actually, nitrogen monoxide. No more stories. I can't. I simply cannot. But Jake was on a roll, so we figured out radiation was bad because some scientists got really sick. But then we also figured out you could use radiation to kill cancer, which is when your own cells mutate and try to take over your body. Dr. Venn'ik made a sound like a balloon. So now we just shoot radiation at tumors and hope the cancer dies before the patient does. It works pretty often. Your medicine is just controlled poisoning. Kind of. We also have chemotherapy, which is literally poison, but like the right amount of poison. The right amount of poison, the doctor repeated, his eyes going glassy. There's a right amount. Everything's poison if you have enough of it. Even water. Water can kill you. I mean, if you drink way too much. Yeah, it's called water intoxication. Nurse Pip quietly closed the medical database. Doctor, I think you need a break. I need a new career, Dr. Venn'ik moaned. One that doesn't involve humans and their nightmare biology. We're not that bad, Jake protested. Jake, your species survives through what can only be described as biological Stockholm Syndrome with the universe itself. You've befriended poison, weaponized disease, and turned your own body's tendency toward self-destruction into medicine. You terrify me on a molecular level. Thanks. That wasn't a compliment. Counselor Rathan had made the mistake of actually reading Earth's history. Jake could tell because the military leader had gone completely still, which for a species that normally couldn't stop fidgeting was apparently a bad sign. Dr. Venn'ik, Rathney said quietly, I need you to confirm something for me. If it's about humans, the answer is probably yes, and definitely terrifying. The database mentions something called World War II. It claims there were 60 million human casualties. Sounds about right, Jake confirmed. And then, 20 years later, they went to space. Well, yeah, we were in a hurry. Cold War and all that. Rathan's eyes all focused on Jake at once. You're telling me your species had a war that killed 60 million members, and then decided the appropriate follow-up was to strap yourselves to controlled explosions and shoot into the void. The rockets were actually pretty safe by that point. Sephi, Rathan's voice cracked. Your Saturn V rocket had a less than 4% failure rate, and you called that SAFA. 4%'s not bad. It's a 4% chance of death. Still better odds than getting the plague. Dr. Venn'ik pulled up more historical records. Oh, good. There's more. Apparently, humans discovered germ theory in the 1800s. Congratulations, Nurse Pip offered. No, you don't understand. That means they didn't KNOW about diseases for most of their history. They were just raw-dogging existence with no idea why they kept dying. That's a weird way to put it. But yeah, Jake agreed. We thought bad smells caused disease for a while. Bad smells. To be fair, bad smells usually meant something was diseased, so we were kinda right. The High Chancellor Morith drifted forward. Let me see if I understand the timeline. Humans existed for millennia without understanding disease, survived anyway, figured out what was killing them, and Ten Who's kept surviving. We're stubborn like that. Dr. Venn'ik scrolled through more records. Here's a fun one. Spanish flu, 1918. 50 million dead, and then they just had a party. It says here the 1920s were called the Roaring Twenties because everyone was celebrating. Yeah, we figured if we survived that, might as well have fun. That's psychotic. That's humanity, baby. Rathan was reading something on his own display, and his expression kept getting worse. What is smallpox? Oh, that one's actually a success story, Jake said brightly. We killed it. Completely. It's extinct. What? We hunted down a disease and eradicated it from existence. Well, except for the samples in labs. But those are for research. You keep samples for science? Dr. Venn'ik's hands were shaking again. Let me understand this. Humans found a disease so deadly it killed 300 million people. And instead of running away, they chased it down, eliminated it entirely, and then kept some in storage just in case. Pretty much. That's the most human thing I've ever heard, and I hate it. Nurse Pip raised a tentacle nervously. There's a note here about something called polio. They made a vaccine that was given to millions of children on sugar cubes. Oh yeah, the sugar made it easier for kids to take. So you defeated a disease that paralyzed children by putting the cure on candy. When you say it like that, it sounds weird. It is weird, Dr. Venn'ik shouted. Everything about your species is weird. You're surrounded by things trying to kill you, and you just make jokes and eat candy vaccines. Don't forget pizza. I'm trying too. Jake sneezed. It was a perfectly normal, human sneeze. The kind that happens when you in a room with alien air filtration that apparently uses some kind of flower-based system. The reaction was not normal alarms blurred. Red lights flashed. Every alien in a 50-foot radius scattered like someone had thrown a grenade. Contamination event, Rathan screamed. Already halfway to the exit. All personnel, evacuate Sector 7. Dude, I just sneezed. Dr. Venn'ik was rapidly backing away while frantically typing on a holographic keyboard. Do you have an NY idea how many pathogens you just arrested? It's just allergies. Allergies. Yeah, I think I'm allergic to your air system. The doctor stopped, mid-retreat. You're telling me you have a biological response to things that aren't even harmful? That's literally what allergies are. Yes. So your immune system just attacks random substances for fun. It thinks they're dangerous. It's usually wrong, but it's got the spirit. Nurse Pip, who was now wearing what looked like a full hazmat suit made of light, spoke up from behind a barrier. So the human body just randomly decides certain molecules are enemies and launches an immune response. Yep. Mine does it with pollen, dust, and shellfish. Shellfish. Yeah. Shrimp will kill me pretty quick if I eat it. Dr. Venn'ik looked like he was going to have a breakdown. So you have food that's poisonous, but only to some of you, and you don't know which ones until you try it. There's usually tests for that. Usually, the High Council had reconvened via hologram, all of them maintaining what they clearly felt was a safe distance. Morith spoke first. This incident has forced us to reconsider our position. Look, I said I was sorry about the sneeze. It's not just the sneeze, Mr. Morrison. It's everything. Your planet is clearly a Class X biohazard. That seems harsh. You're allergic to our life support system. To be fair, I'm allergic to a lot of stuff. Cats, tree nuts, bee stings. Stop listing things. Several council members shouted in unison. Rathan stepped forward, somehow looking exhausted despite being a hologram. The council proposes the following. We quarantine your entire solar system. No one in, no one out. Earth becomes a restricted zone. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Excuse me, we've already been to space. We've got satellites, space stations, plans for Mars. You can't just lock us in. We absolutely can, Rathen insisted, for the safety of the galaxy. Jake stood up, which caused half the holograms to flicker nervously. Here's the thing, though. We survived everything our planet threw at us. Diseases, disasters, predators, ice ages, each other. We did unsurvive all that to get locked in our room by aliens who are scared of the flu. The flu is terrifying. To you, maybe. To us, it's just Tuesday. Dr. Venn'ik pulled up another display. He does have a point. Council. According to their history, humans have faced pandemic-level events approximately every 20 to 50 years. And they just keep going. They built civilizations during plagues. They held sporting events during pandemics. They went to space while recovering from wars. That's not determination. That's insanity, Morrison said. Maybe, Jake shrugged. But it's our insanity, and it got us here, talking to aliens, learning about the galaxy. You really want to keep that locked away? The council members looked at each other, their various appendages fidgeting in what Jake was learning to recognize as nervous deliberation. Perhaps, Morrison said slowly. Quarantine is too extreme. Thank you instead. We'll classify Earth as a Class X biohazard with limited diplomatic access. Your planet will be marked with warning beacons. Any ships approaching will be required to have full decontamination protocols. So, we're the scary house on the block that kids avoid. Essentially, yes. I can live with that. 3 weeks later, Jake was back at the same rest stop off I-40, eating another questionable burrito. The aliens had given him a ride home in a sterilized pod that they immediately incinerated after he left. So let me get this straight, his buddy Frank said over the phone. You got abducted by aliens. They freaked out because humans are too germy, and now Earth is basically marked with a hazard sign. Pretty much. And you expect me to believe this? Frank, I've got a diplomatic immunity badge from an alien federation. It's made of something that doesn't exist on the periodic table. You bought that at a sci-fi convention. It glows when you touch it. So does the toy from my nephew's Happy Meal. Jake sighed. He'd known this would happen. Nobody ever believed the truth when it was this weird. Whatever, man. I'm just saying, don't be surprised if aliens start avoiding Earth. Sure thing, buddy. Hey, I gotta go. Try to lay off the gas station food. It's clearly making you hallucinate. Jake hung up and took another bite of his burrito. Above him, in orbit, a collective survey ship registered the warning beacon around Earth and immediately altered course. On the bridge of that ship, the captain was briefing his crew. We're approaching Sol 3, classified as Class X biohazard. The species there, humans, ought to be considered dangerous. Dangerous, how? Asked the navigator. They survive things that would kill us. Their planet is essentially a death world that they've befriended through sheer stubbornness. Should we avoid contact? Absolutely. But maintain a respectful distance. The collective has determined that any species tough enough to survive Earth is probably not one we want to antagonize. Back in his truck, Jake pulled up the news on his phone. Another flu season starting early. Politicians arguing someone discovered a new type of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Just another day on Earth, he muttered, starting the engine. Somewhere in deep space, Dr. Venn'ik was still compiling his report on human biology. He'd titled it How to Survive Everything, a study in biological stubbornness. It was 30,000 pages long and growing. Nurse Pip entered the lab with a beverage. Still working on the human project, Dr. I can't help it. They're fascinating. Terrifying, but fascinating. Did you know they have gut bacteria that's essential for survival? They literally can't live without microorganisms. That's horrible. That's symbiosis. They've partnered with billions of bacteria. It's actually quite elegant. You're starting to sound impressed. Dr. Venn'ik paused, considering. Maybe they're survivors. Pip. Against absolutely ridiculous odds, they keep surviving. There's something admirable about that. Even if they're a walking biohazard, especially because they're a walking biohazard, they turned their nightmare into normal. That takes a special kind of crazy. On Earth, Jake finished his burrito and started the long haul to Denver. Somewhere between mile marker 347 and 348, he sneezed again. No alarms went off. No one evacuated. Life just continued. And that, perhaps, was the most human thing of all. Meanwhile, in the collective database, Earth's entry had been updated. Planet. Sol 3 Earth classification. Class X biohazard. Dominant species. Humans threat level. Extreme unintentional notes. Species has survived multiple extinctional velo-biological events through sheer stubbornness and questionable decision. Approach with extreme caution. Despite biological hazards, species shows remarkable resilience and adaptability. Recommend diplomatic relations from a safe distance. Also, they invented something called pizza, which multiple crew members have expressed interest in trying despite health warnings. Additional note: never, under any circumstances, let them explain their medical history. It will ruin your day. High Chancellor Morith approved the entry with a tired appendage, then added one final line. P.S. They're probably going to visit us eventually. Start preparing decontamination protocols now. We're going to need them. And in a small truck on a long highway, Jake Morrison turned up the radio. Unrubble, completely unaware that humanity had just become the galaxy's most terrifying success story. The universe had tried to kill humans for millennia. Humans took it personally and survived anyway. That was the most HFY thing of all.